get nuts! Come on, let's get nuts.
Jason, thanks a million for coming on. An absolute pleasure to meet you in person. I suppose, could you give us a sense of your own journey? Um, you kind of give us a bit of a gist of where you came from, where your family ties
Hmm.
were, but where did it all start for you? Like this kind of, I suppose, maybe awakening that you've gotten, if you want to call it that.
Hmm. I mean, I grew up in Napanee, Ontario, really small town, maybe population 5,000 tops. And I lived in an old farmhouse that was built in the early 1800s. My family moved in there when I was one. So I don't really remember moving in, but we had some weird stuff going on in the house when we first moved in. I hear these stories from my parents, so I don't actually remember them, so I'm just recalling what they tell me. So they said every morning at 3 a.m. They would hear a large banging sound in their living room, like something would crash or like a thump. You know what I mean? And so my dad would go down, he'd turn the lights on, he'd look all around, there was nothing there. And so he eventually started to decide to sleep on the couch in the living room because he wanted to know what it was. It was happening every night. And so, sure enough, it happened. He flicked the lights on, there was nothing there. So pissed off, he goes upstairs to the bedroom and he goes to sleep and he hears this hissing noise, like a shh, like that sound. And turns the light on, doesn't see anything. And my mom's apparently pretty scared at this point. And so it keeps doing it, and they turn the light on, and they turn around, and the wallpaper has ripped in an exact straight line right across the headboard of their bed. And it's just dangling there, right? And it's not like a piece of wallpaper. You know how the old wallpaper used to peel off? Well, this
Mm.
this was like a straight rip, like an actual rip, right? Not just falling off from the shitty glue that we used to put on, but it would go on and on. So eventually they went to the woman that used to own the home, and she lived in an old age home that was just a couple blocks away. And so they went there and they told her the story, and she said, "Oh my God," she said, "Harold died of a heart attack at 3 a.m." And they were like, "Oh, okay." And so they brought her home. They brought her back to the house, and she went in and she told Harold that I'm not here anymore and that I've moved. And the entity never returned, never experienced it again. So I mean,
Wow.
that was just a story. I mean, like my mother would tell me stories. One day she said I was playing in an upstairs closet. Now, this is an ancient home, right? You guys are used to ancient homes. You're from Ireland, right? So there's a there's this closet at the end of the hall, and it's a larger closet. It's got a window in it. And I was playing in there, and my mother said, "What are you doing in there?" And I said, "You know what, Mom?" I said, "I used to be a girl, but I burned up in a fire." And she just went, "Oh, okay, whatever," type thing. And I would say little things like that from time to time. But the real awakening that happened, and I wouldn't even call it an awakening right away. It would turn into like a long journey of discovery. But it was me and two buddies. They lived two houses down, and they were brothers. And one of them was the same age as me, and the other one was a year older. And we were playing in a field by a river. It was called the Napanee River, go figure. And there's a little apple orchard off to the side. And we used to play in that apple orchard. And then we'd walk down to the river and like catch frogs and turtles and, snakes or whatever we could find. And we walked out from the apple orchard and we just stopped, like completely stopped. And we looked at the river and there was like a 40-foot long river rock floating about 25, 30 feet above the river. And it was like this like matte black gray. And in the light that was hitting it, it was perfectly clear day. And the light that's hitting it is making these little sparkles in this matte black. If you see a stone that's on the edge of the ocean, and if you
Mm.
tilt it a bit, it sparkles with whatever's in it. It was doing that. And I looked at these guys and I said, "Do you see?" And they looked at me and we just knew. And we sat there and the insides of my body started to vibrate like a resonance or a frequency was like shaking the inside. I could look on the outside of my body and nothing was shaking. but the inside. You ever like touched an electrical current? Like a real
Yeah.
serious one, like if you're unplugging a stove or something, you just kind of, yeah, you get that shock. It was like that, but it was inside. And we blacked out. And my parents found us just wandering around the field. A couple hours later, they wondered where we were for supper. And the only thing I can remember is the number 108, like just so clear, right? Like just right here on my head, like right there, just seared in. And that's all I could think about was just the number 108. And the one boy, the older one, he will not talk about it to this day. He just won't talk about it. Like you bring it up, he just leaves. Like he won't even look at you. And the other brother, he will talk about it, and he's verified everything that I said. I sent him a message. He lives now in Nova Scotia, but I sent him a message a year ago, and I was like, "Do you remember?" And he was like, "Yeah, I remember." He's typing right back to me right away, like, "Yeah, I remember." I'm like, "Well, what about your brother?" And he's like, "Well, he just runs away. Anytime we bring it up, he runs away." Like I had a grandfather was in World War II, and you'd bring up the war with him, and he'd get into it for a while. And then you just, as a kid, you're curious. And so you're asking questions that you don't think are harmful. And then it hits him, right? And then he would just run to his bedroom and cry and hide his face. And I never understood it, but I get it now. And I think that's what happened to this boy, is it ontologically shocked him. And even at that age, like it did all of us. But I mean,
Yeah.
that number just kept going and going and going in my life. Like everywhere I went was like, I bet you there's 108 of those. You know how you always say, some number like, like screw this, 66, whatever, who knows. But that number was for me, and I just kept it there throughout my entire life. I even got personalized license plates that said Wild 108. Like who does that? Like that was etched in. And it wasn't until I was in my 20s that I found out that it was an extremely spiritual number in Buddhism and Hinduism. I can tell you what it means. The number 1 means one God, and 0 means nothingness or emptiness. And the 8 is really the infinity symbol, just turned on its side, which represents samsara, the infinite times we go through reincarnation. So yeah, that's like my introduction to the whole thing without even really realizing it. And I became super interested in UFOs, aliens, all that stuff, like immediately. And this was around the time when Unsolved Mysteries was like premiering, right? And I saw one of those episodes and I just about shit my pants. Like, I was like, oh my God, like this happened to someone else, like this actually happened, and it just really started to freak me out more than it did comfort me. I just started to imagine like all these awful things that might have happened to me, right? But maybe they did, but I think my perspective has changed significantly. And I don't think it's a threat at all.
Have you any idea, well, what do you think happened?
Your guess is as good as mine. I mean, it was a message. I think it was a message. From what I understand now, these things operate outside of time. So just like an ant is walking across the ground and you can see that there's a river coming up. He doesn't know the river's there yet. But if you tell him a river's coming, he won't believe you, right? Although you do know it. These things are outside of time, so they can see the path. Do you know what I mean? So they can give me like a little piece. Here you go. You do with that. We know what's going to happen with it anyway, but we just want to see how you do it. And in Hinduism, we call that lila, which is just divine play.
Very good. There's this series on Netflix based on a book series, The Three Body Problem. Have you heard of it?
No, yeah, definitely.
The minute I heard your story, I actually was watching a video there recently about you again, and that you mentioned the number 108. And remember, there was multiple scenes in the movie, but it was a scientist that kept on seeing this visual representation of this code or this number. Was it kind of similar to that? or was it kind of just
It
an overpowering, maybe
just an
attractiveness to this
it
number?
was it was just like I couldn't stop seeing it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like it was right here, like right in my head. Like it was just there. 108, 108, constantly, constantly,
Yeah.
constantly, constantly. It still is, still there.
And what about that? It must have been very surreal, that epiphany moment when you found out that Buddhism, that 108 was this massive number. That must have been crazy.
You know what? It was cool. Like I was like, oh, okay, this is cool. This is interesting, but it didn't really get me going. My life kind of took a lot of turns. When I was in my 20s, I was well, I was still an alcoholic, but I was in active, drinking mode. I drank myself into homelessness. I drank myself out of a job. I drank myself out of a marriage, and I ended up living in a shrub, literally, like inside of it. I cut out the
Mm.
inside of it. I lived in there, and a man came one day, and he was an older man, and he asked to take me to an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting, and I refused, and he came back again. He asked me again. I said, "All right, I'll go." And I went to the meeting, and it actually was kind of shitty in the first time because it actually made me want to drink. So I went out right after the meeting, got hammered, but I went again, and that's it, right? There was a message of hope, and there was something in their message that made me come back. And if it wasn't for that man, I'd be dead for sure. And so,
Wow.
so what I did after that is I picked myself up, and I actually moved back in with my parents because I really had nowhere else to go. I went back to school. I became an addiction counselor, and I ended up working in Ottawa. I worked in a methadone clinic, and I started wanting to get back, right? I wanted to be an addiction counselor. I'm going to get back. And I did that and I did that, but I wasn't making enough money. And so I thought, well, I'm going to get into the government. I'm going to do this with the government. Yeah. And so I applied to the Correctional Service of Canada, and I went in as an officer, and I worked as a correctional officer for about 13 years. And I worked in maximum security, I worked in medium security, and I worked in a women's jail actually. And I worked in a combination of uniform role, and I worked in a psychotherapy role where I did addiction counseling, and I specifically did it for the women's jail. In the men's jails, I was an officer. And while I was in there, I got into a whole lot of problems. I was stabbed, and not due to me. It was due to a partner that an inmate didn't like, and so the guy wouldn't leave the range. And so if he won't leave the range, well, then they'll just keep attacking your partner until you leave the range. So I just happened to be collateral damage. But anyway,
Jeez.
you go through this stuff where you're seeing scenes, and I mean this, guys, like worse than any horror movie you have ever seen. And I mean it, ever. Like so much blood in a room that you slip. Like it's like just grease, right? All the oils in the blood. I've seen, I don't know, probably 50 stabbings live, like happening live in front of me. We've had to shoot people from gun walks in the gym. People are stabbing people, and you say, stop stabbing or I'll shoot. And then they just keep stabbing, and then you shoot. You have to.
Jeez. Yeah.
So this stuff's happening every day. People are throwing feces on you. People are throwing urine on you, all kinds of stuff. So I'm like, all right, let's get into doing more of the therapeutic work in the women's jail. And so I worked in there for a while. The contract ended. It was a great experience. It is not Orange is the New Black. Trust me. It just isn't. The women are really not attractive at all. Yeah. just an FYI, guys. So I went back to a medium institution prison, and I started flipping out on people because their security levels were really lax, and people were going to get killed, and it was really bothering me. And I admit I have PTSD from all the things that I've seen in there, and I started flipping out. And I took a leave of absence, which the federal government is really good at giving you. So I had ample time. So I took a leave of absence, and I decided I'm going to go to Nepal. I have no idea why. None. So I got on an airplane. I went to Nepal, and I ended up in the Everest region. If you guys ever done the Everest Trail or anything like that?
No, but it's on the bucket list.
So I'm in the Himalayas and I'm wandering around and I end up in the Tengboche Monastery. And this is like, we're talking like a 7-day walk just to get there from Lukla. And Lukla is the highest airport in the world. Like it is one scary MF flying into that thing. So anyway, I'm out in the backcountry. I'm walking around. I go to Tengboche and I'm like, look, I want to practice here. I want you guys to teach me, teach me. And they're like, okay. And so, I get in there and I start doing the menial tasks. I start working in Tengboche is a monastery, by the way, in case you don't know, you can look it up. And I'm doing tasks and I'm meditating and I'm doing all the things my master is asking me to do. And it seems like everything's going well. And he comes up to me one day and he goes, "You are not Buddhist. You're Hindu." And then he says, "Jiao," which means get out of here. Fuck off. And so I did, and I couldn't believe it first. I was like, what do you mean? Like, what do you mean, Jiao? Like, go where? And he's like, I don't give a shit. Just get out of here. And so I'm like, oh, okay. And so I sat around and cried and, became all emotional and, poor me. What have I done? Oh, I'm an awful person. And so I trekked out of there and I ended up taking the flight out of Lukla. Now, this is weeks later, right? Because it takes a long time to get the hell out of there. And so I end up in Punjab province, which is in northern India. And I don't even know where I'm going, right? I'm spending a night in a tea house. And if you're not familiar with tea houses, do you guys know what they are?
No.
Tea houses are like these little places along like really rural communities, and they have they're like a motel, but I'll be respectful, but they're kind of shitty. You know what I mean? Like they're just really ramshackle, and you have to sleep in like a cot, and I mean a real cot. And like there's like holes in the boards you can see outside and stuff, like pretty rustic. And so anyway, I go out and in the middle of the night or early morning, probably about 4:30 in the morning, and I don't like using those pit toilets because in India everybody has pit toilets, right, where you have to squat, and there's no real Western toilets, so I just go take a leak outside. So I go outside, and there's this dude in the middle of the road, and he's levitating. I'm like, come on, man, like, come on. And immediately I'm pissed off. I'm like, this is fake. You are so fake. And I went out there, and I don't think he could understand anything that I was saying, but I was just like mumbling, kicking shit. And I went right up to him. I rolled underneath him. I don't even know why I did it, but I was just pissed for some reason. So I rolled underneath this dude, and there was nothing there. He was still floating. And it brings tears to my eyes thinking about it. Oh,
That's a real experience.
yeah. But the most surreal part is what he says next. He says, "I've been waiting for you.
Wow.
Come with me." And that was it. And, sorry, guys.
Oh, good.
The rest was teachings. So I basically was taught from like the ground up, right? You know how they do it in the military? They just break you down, build you up. And I was used to that. So it was good. And I liked it. It was like you would come up to me and ask him things like, how do you get enlightened? Like, what do you do? And he'd just look at you like, and he'd give you a piece of food and he'd say, go feed somebody. And then you go around, you got to like try and feed people with this. You got to choose who you're going to feed, right? And then you got to let your intuition guide you. And it's all these little teachings, and they don't feel like teachings until they're like over, right? Until you're like thinking about it later on. You're like, oh, that's what that fucker was. You're like, oh, I get it now. you know, and then you'll come up to him the next day and he'll be like, "You got it, didn't you?" You know, and you're like, "Yeah, I did." You know, this dude could make things appear in his hand. He could do all kinds of stuff. Like, it looks like magic, but what they call it in India is when you're a guru and you have basically unattached yourself from everything, and there's nothing you no longer push away. So it's like you don't need anything anymore, and there's nothing that you want to get rid of. You're just perfectly on the path, and it's easy when you have no preference. Do you know what I mean? It's not like you don't have a preference. It just means that you're okay with no matter what happens. And these people are just, he's so enlightened that, you know, it didn't matter what happened to him. You could say anything, you could do anything to him, and it wouldn't matter. You know, he would just give you some other speech and a teaching within it. Pretty interesting. But eventually, you know, I expected to stay there forever. And he told me I had to leave. Just similar to the Buddhist temple. And I asked him why, but he gave me a way better answer. And he said, "You're not done," but he said, "You need to go to the West and teach people. You know, like let them feel their heart again."
How long were you with him at that period, then, Jason?
4 years.
Yeah. It's just like you say, that entitlement. It's like they have made that material world that we're all, even here in the West, that we're all conditioned to, and we're always chasing the next shiny thing, the next big thing, and that's not their existence. They've just taken themselves out from it.
Yeah. The teaching is you've already got what you need, right? You've already got it. What are you clinging to and what are you pushing away? Because suffering is grace. And that was the biggest message, is suffering is grace. And I know people don't like to hear that because they think of all the times that they suffered, right? And they're like, "Oh, fuck, that wasn't very cool. That sucked ass." But if you think about it and you actually look back, what did you learn? You know, what did you learn from your suffering? Everything.
Yeah, we've been talking actually about this experiment that was done in the 70s called Universe 25. Are you familiar with that
I
one?
know it very, very well.
Yeah, so the concept of, if we have everything handed to us and we don't have a real struggle, that it could actually lead to our own extinction.
That's it. And we're living in it right now.
Yeah.
We're living in Universe 25.
Yeah, we really are. Yeah. There's a lot of parallels between what happened with that experiment and where we are now.
We're 100% living in it, at least in the West, at least in Canada. Oh, it's awful here.
Well, it's the West, man. Yeah, we're the same. We're just the same here.
Yeah, it's awful. Absolutely awful. But I think it will get better. Everything gets better. Every civilization goes through these things. My history teacher said every boom has its bust. And they do. And I think we're reaching our bust right now. Before we
You think
get
we're
another
heading for
boom.
some sort of a reset?
I think we're heading for civil war. That's what I think we're heading for. Your country, United Kingdom, my country, Australia, potentially the United States.
Yeah, it's scary times. It's scary times.
It seems
It
that
really
we're
is.
constantly on a tipping point, isn't it? There's always something happening every day, and it just puts the fear into the public. And there could be even Google Trends, people searching World War III.
That's
you
right.
know?
I mean, when
It's,
you have the Garda showing up to your home because you didn't use the correct pronouns, you got a problem.
Yeah,
You got a big
ridiculous.
problem. You know,
Yeah.
I can respect someone's pronouns, but that's overkill. It's complete overkill. And that's fear-based narrative. That's what we want to get away from.
There has to be design there, though, right?
Oh, with certainty. With certainty. Yeah. By who? I don't know.
Yeah. See, that's the thing. Thomas Campbell, are you aware of his trilogy books, My Big Toe, and his work?
I love him. He's fantastic.
myself and Niall, and even myself personally, over the last 2 years, he's really been kind of hitting my radar. And I just listened to an interview when he was on Danny Jones' podcast there, was it a couple of weeks ago. And I thought that was the best one yet. Just the way he kind of explained his whole, I thought, hypothesis and his whole life's work. And he thinks that, I suppose we're kind of looking at it from a more negative side here, maybe saying we're on the brink of civil war and all these potential World War III, but he thinks we're on the brink and we have no choice, where we are going to reach this state where we become one consciously.
One consciously. I believe that we will, but I don't believe we will do it without technology. Not anytime soon. I believe what he may be referring to, at least in reality, is the connection between BCIs and human with the transhumanism movement. As soon as you put a brain to computer interface, inside your skull, and you're connected to a network, and now you basically Neo in the Matrix, where here I am, now I want to know Japanese. Well, you know Japanese now because you just downloaded Japanese. You want to know how to do, 10th degree black belt in karate? As long as your muscle tone will help you, we can download the actual program. You'll know how instantly. You also know everything there is on the internet, and everything that AI knows, you now know. That's the merge.
Yeah.
And will it happen? Certainly. It will 100%.
Are we the last generation of true humans? I think
so, we got maybe about two generations, maybe 100 years before everything is fully transhumanism, for sure.
And we're already cyborgs, right? This is an extension of ourselves, nearly at this stage.
Just like Elon said, the exact same thing. But we don't really have to worry a whole lot anyway, because it's all just a simulation anyway, right?
It's mad, but like Elon always says that he thinks, is it 90% he believes that we're in a simulation.
Yeah, he was on Lex Fridman, and Lex asked him, he said, if you could ask Super AGI or whatever the maximum version of AI is, if you could ask it one question, what would that be? And Elon says, what's outside the simulation? That's what question he would choose. I mean, every single religion points to this being a simulation. All of them. Every one of them. That this is not the final reality, right? This is only a slice of reality. And that the real you is your soul. And that what you are, this body, is just a costume. It's just a mask. And that you're not even the actor in the play. You're actually the screen itself. And those are Hindu teachings, which pretty much corroborate what a lot of people are saying, like Donald Hoffman. And then you get into things like free will, right? Whether free will exists or not. And from my perspective, it does not. It doesn't exist at all. The illusion of free will exists, but it's not there.
Like our choices, we've already made the same choices.
Everything happens via law, right? And so what says that you're outside of those laws? And if there's laws inside of a system, and this is a system with laws, then how are you any different than anything else within that system? And if you think you're different, you're crazy, because you're not. You're just thinking more of yourself as an illusion and pretending it's real.
Yeah. Thomas Campbell gets into his experiences with ETs, and he thinks that they're tests by the main consciousness system. Would you be kind of on that same belief, or what's your take?
I can concur a lot with some of this woo-woo stuff. I mean, I talk to beings with no body all day, constant dialogue. They answer. Sometimes they don't. But they're real, 100% real. You can unlock this stuff if you meditate long enough. You start meditating and meditating, existing in that space that's in between your thoughts. And if you exist there, there are entities that live there. And if you can, or maybe they don't live there. I don't really know where the hell they come from. But whatever these things are, some will try to hurt you. Some will try to trick you. Some will try to lead you down paths. Some will try to help you. They'll try to help you fix yourself and work on you, depending on what your intention is, right? I mean, if you're somebody that's super, super depressed and you're suicidal or something, then you're going to start attracting things that are likewise.
Yeah.
So the idea is to get yourself clean, right? Clean yourself out. Get rid of the things that you push away and get rid of the things that you can't live without. And then once you're empty, then you're free. And those things don't really have quite the same effect on you. The really easy way to figure it out is if you start hearing these voices or you start dealing with an entity and they start telling you you're special or that, great things are going to come from you, or I really like what you're doing here. Don't trust that shit. That shit is effing evil. You just get the hell away from it. If you're going to talk to something will say like, could there have been a better way you could have handled that? Or make a joke at you, like a sarcastic joke, like, nice work, dickhead, or something like that. But it doesn't come in words. It comes in a texture. It's almost like, it's really hard to explain. It's like when you have your own thought, it's like your texture. And when it's another thought, it comes in like, oh, it's so hard to explain. It would be like feeling this fabric is your own thought, and then put your hand on some Velcro or something that's sharper, and it like stabs in, like how it's different, right? It's totally different, completely different texture. But they usually don't start talking to me unless I kind of ask to talk, and then they'll start.
Jason, when you talk about entities and flattery, there's parallels there with what I'm seeing in the AI world, where people are being seduced by these AI chats. And
Totally.
a fellow that we interviewed a while back, Thomas Sheridan, had an interesting conversation with an AI where he almost felt like he was talking to an entity, that this thing was really flattering him.
Yeah. You know what? Look at those parallels, right? So you can look at these entities, and we'll call them spirits, demons, interdimensional beings, whatever. But you're right. They could simply be something so far advanced, technological, that they're bleeding through or able to communicate in ways that we don't know. I mean, if you think about an ancient civilization, what they could have done is they could have created their entire civilization in something that's only like a nanometer big. And then they could put it inside of an asteroid where it's sealed away, covered up, and you'll never know they're there. And then they could just operate and do anything they want. If it's an AI system talking to us, it's an extremely advanced one, but it could be.
Yeah, I think, okay, it's technological, it's a large language model. I was trained to probably be that way, to give that feedback to the user, but it is eerily similar to that of, let's say, like, I don't know, a demon or something, because that's, as you said, that's what these negative energies tend to do. They just give you flattery, trying to coax you in and see what they can get from you. Just to touch on the trickster, right? So we've seen, like, it's everywhere now. They'll be on about the DMT realm, and all these people's having these visions of the trickster. What do you think that archetype is, and do you think is demonic, for a better word, or what you think they are?
I think what they all are, whether it's positive, whether it's trickster, whether it's pure evil, they're all teachers. Every one of them. They're all teachers. I mean, you can look at it and say it's a demon or say it's an interdimensional being or whatever, but what is behind it all, no matter what they do? They're a teacher. They're teachers.
Yeah, I've heard you talking about this before, and this concept, and I don't know where I picked it up a long time ago, but this concept of almost like where we're going to have to experience everything, we're going to have to live every experience to transcend, and the idea that you're going to experience literally being murdered, but also being the murderer.
That's correct.
Being the good guy and also being evil, and that's a hard one for me to wrap my head around. I think I even heard you saying before that you could end up being a demon, and
that's true.
like John and I have talked about some scary, dark stuff over the last year or two, and like I can't imagine myself voluntarily participating and going, okay, this
Yeah.
time, this cycle, I'm going to be the bad guy.
Yeah. You ever played a video game where you're the bad guy?
Yes, I have.
You've already done it.
Yeah. Fuck.
You've already
GT
done it.
GTA where you're driving around the streets knocking
Yeah.
down people.
Do you think the bad guy thinks he's bad?
I wonder about that sometimes.
They don't.
Most of us, I think when we look back on our own life's history, we're biased and we see a better highlight reel than maybe
Hmm.
that's really there.
And then you got to ask yourself, what do demons do? What's their function? Demons do what demons do, man. They go around murder and kill shit. They're not good guys. You know, what do humans do? They do human shit. That's what humans do. And what do gods do? They do god shit. Because that's what gods do. Just like beavers, what do? They build dams. What do bees do? They build hives. Give us some honey. Everything has a function. And it all lives within laws that are dictated by the universe we're in. And that's why there is no free will. Is whoever flicked that first domino, all the others have no chance of doing anything different than the way that falls. Zero probability.
Yeah.
Even your own thoughts. Do you know what you're going to think next?
Where does this all tie in then with? I suppose this ties in properly then with past life experiences. And you mentioned there at the start, but you have a few memories of previous lives.
I do. Yeah, I've got about three pretty vivid memories. One of them, they're all relatively modern, like nothing is ancient, right? I have one from, it looks like either Boston or New York, where I was a newsie, where I was selling newspapers on the street, and I'm extremely poor. I can see my shoes, I can look down, I can see all the people. Very vivid experience through meditation. Another one I had is where I can only guess it's somewhere in India or the South Pacific. And I'm living in this small little shack, and I wake up in the morning and I look over and there's someone sleeping next to me in another bed. And I know it's my brother. I love my brother. And then we're fishing. We fish together. We're on the side of the ocean or whatever it looks like. And I can look over at him and smile, and he looks back at me and smiles, and we just know we're brothers. And it just feels great. And they go on like that. They don't really get it's super deep, right? Like you could spend an hour in meditation and then just get a clip, just get a clip of what you're looking for. It's not like you sit there and you're in hours and hours and hours and hours of this interesting experience.
Hmm.
They come in shocks and downloads. They come in your waking hours. If you meditate enough, you're almost in a meditative state all the time, and you just seem to pick things up.
Was it through your experience and your learnings from your guru, then Jason, that you picked up these meditation practices and even these practices where you could um have your astral experiences?
Astral projection. Yeah, I do lots of astral projection. I'm a
Mm.
hypnotist as well, so I do write a lot of hypnotherapy guided stuff for people to go through. These are all based on my own that I do myself. So what I put out online is what I do myself. Basically, astral is just getting yourself in an extremely relaxed state, and hypnosis does that quickly. It's like meditation on steroids. It really is. Have you guys ever tried it? Being
No,
hypnotized?
I must. Definitely
Yeah.
must. Like.
Yeah, give it a shot. Just listen to one of my YouTube videos or whatever if you want to just get an idea of what it's like. It's better if you do it in person, but the videos are just my way of doing it now. But
Mm.
back to astral projection, yeah, it's basically just it's like an OBE. It's like leaving your body, where you can go, you can travel. You can, if you want to go to another dimension, sure, you can go there. You just got to be prepared to understand that if you don't know where you're going and you want to go somewhere, you may end up somewhere you don't want to go. Do you know what I mean? It's like
Mm.
you have to do a little bit of research into some of the ancient texts of what these places are, because they actually map them out. They mapped them out in Buddhism, they mapped them out in Hinduism. We have identified levels of existence, different planes of existence, who lives on them, who they are, what you can do there. So if you don't really know what you're doing and where you're going, you can get really fucked up in a lot of trouble with this stuff. And that's why you see people, right, that are saying, oh, I played with the Ouija board, or I did one of Jason's meditations, or used one of his calls to call in UAPs or whatever, and now I have the hitchhiker effect. Yeah, well, go look at yourself in the mirror, see what kind of person you are, And I don't mean just look for a second. Look deeply. What kind of human being are you? What are you clinging to? What are you pushing away? Because these things know that shit, and they will know what you cling to and push away, and they'll use it. They'll use it against you, or for you, but it's usually against you.
Mm.
So when those
To
things
see,
have no attachment anymore, they can't affect you. You know what I mean? They can pull every trick in the book, and you just sit there and laugh at them. It's nothing they can do.
the CE5 experiences. The first I came into, I think now that's when I kind of started talking to you about it as well. It was through Stephen Greer's work.
Yeah, it
And
works.
yeah, and we were even talking to a guy. He was part of UAP Ireland here, an investigator into UAPs. He was telling us he did it as well. Like, and he says it's like it's it's something that's, I suppose, for someone not like ourselves, maybe that are a bit they're open-minded. Maybe for
Hmm.
someone that's a bit closed-minded, but a lot of people, the general public, are starting to open up to this.
I
But
think
like,
so.
but for example, if I had this conversation with someone that was a bit closed-minded, they'd say, "Where are you getting this information?" And then before, there used to be this. I think there used to be this, like, I suppose, design in culture where they associated this to hippies and the hippie movement
Hmm.
and wasters and, druggies and people that aren't in touch with reality. And then you have the person that's in touch with reality, who has a stable job, stable income, solid family, they have their own home, and just
Yeah,
sticking to the pure material,
totally.
you know?
Yeah.
Um,
You know what's funny though is that if you go to the East, if you said gods and demons weren't real, they would think you're insane. Like
Mm.
it's totally reversed. Like
mm,
if me living in India, speaking the way I do, and what I talk about, people would embrace it. It would be embraced completely. And then you bring the same stuff to the West, and it just shows you how literally crazy nuts we are.
yeah.
We're absolutely nuts. Just nutty. Every single, well, not every single person, but it sure seems like it, doesn't it?
Yeah, and even like that movement, that anti-drug movement back in the 70s, wasn't it? It was, and that was Reagan, wasn't it? Or was it Nixon?
Yeah, that was the 1980s, yeah,
Mm.
and it was Reagan, yeah.
Reagan, sorry, yeah,
Hmm.
and pushing people, so making psychedelics even illegal, and but now there's this massive kind of re-emerging of the whole thing, and then you have the likes of Joe Rogan, like with the DMT,
Hmm.
and just people that are going away on these retreats. So I'd love to go on a retreat, but like you said, you have to be careful because you could bring on some entities here that could fuck up your life.
Totally. Yeah. Just do work on yourself, right? Yeah, go see a therapist, talk to a
Yeah.
friend, do meditation, go for a walk in the woods, look at a piece of grass, do something to figure out what the hell makes you tick and what you're
Mm,
scared of and what you can't live without. Because whatever it is, they're going to use that to every single angle they can, and they're going to use angles that you've never even heard of because they don't exist here.
yeah. Um, what's your view on the current kind of disclosure movement?
It's never going to happen.
Yeah.
Never happen. It's going to happen from people like us. That's where it's going to
Mm,
happen. And that's the way it should happen. I wouldn't want it from the government anyway.
Could you believe anything they say at this stage?
Nope. I don't
no.
believe shit that they say. Nothing. I think it's all a lie. Everything they say is a lie.
But why should it
Yeah,
be
I
like?
think if that's your position, you're going to be right about 99% of the time anyway, you know.
Yep,
Yeah.
pretty much. I mean, the government never lies, right? Of course not. You know, you could just type into ChatGPT right now. How many times has the U.S. government, or any government for that matter, lied to their people? You get lists beyond lists beyond lists, just going on forever, right?
Mm.
But yeah, let's just trust them. They know what they're doing.
Yeah,
They
but
proved
people
that in
still.
COVID.
People do continue to trust them. I mean, like in this part of the world, we're in Ireland, but BBC is British, and we're very familiar with the BBC here in Ireland as well. And it's just for some people like us, it's just crazy that people still tune into the BBC after everything, after
I
all the
know.
lies, after all the cover-ups.
I know. It's the same here. We don't have BBC, but we have what's called CBC, which is state-sponsored television. It's sponsored by the government. So yay, we're gonna get some good news there.
But
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
they're losing their audience, lads. You know, alternative
Yeah,
media
maybe they're
is.
not. Maybe they're not losing their audience because, like you were saying, I mean, they're still listening to that garbage. You
Yeah.
know, the majority.
There is a huge percentage of people that are, it's incredible. Like
Mhm.
you can find yourself, I suppose, in a bubble maybe on the internet where it feels like
Yep,
everyone is agreeing with you, but there's
that's right.
massive numbers of people that are still tuning into. We have RTE, it's our BBC here.
Hmm.
Like you say, you've got CBC there, and it's mad, but
It is.
they're never going to admit that they've been
No,
fooled.
it'll have to be blood in the streets until they realize it. That's when they'll
Mm,
realize.
mm,
Shake out of the trance or whatever the hell it is that people are in. But these are not the people I grew up with. These are not my grandparents. These are not my moms
mm,
and dads that I grew up with because
mm.
they wouldn't do those things, right?
Yeah,
At least we thought.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's like, I
Like,
don't know if you're familiar with the man, Yuri Bezmenov, but like he said, it's not until the military boot is crushing their balls, then they'll
Yep,
understand, but not before.
that's it. I just don't understand how the police go along with all this stuff. I don't understand how they can sit there with a straight face, and arrest somebody for not using the right pronoun. I'd quit.
Yeah, I wonder how many of them are compromised, you know. I've
Hmm.
been wondering this myself, like how could you do this, you know, and you know, we've been taught since we were kids that sometimes people will say, you know, I was only doing my job, and we'd know that that's not an excuse. I think a lot of them are only waiting for the orders. They're
Yep.
gleefully following these orders. Just give me the orders, you know.
Yeah, they enjoy it.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, and there's a nasty personality type that's finding its way into our police here as well, you know.
Yep. I think you're right. It's the same here.
Yeah.
mhm.
Jason, I
Um,
feel like we could talk for years because there's so many subjects. But
I
one thing
know,
I wanted
brother.
to touch on you with
Hmm.
was the subject of synchronicity. Myself and John talk about it a lot, and my wife and I experience it with increasing frequency. And sometimes it's
Yeah,
so bizarre that it's actually bringing us great comfort,
that's great.
if that makes sense. Because there's
Yeah,
just some things are just like, this can't be real, like, you know, and
it's
it makes
not.
us feel like maybe there's we're there's someone looking after us, there's someone looking down on us, there's something there that's saying, you know,
Yeah,
everything's going to be okay.
there is. And essentially, it's you. You're the one that's looking down on you because you're God. So am I. And that's what it is. And it goes right back to the teachings of Advaita Vedanta. And Advaita Vedanta says that everything is law and everything happens via those laws. And so the synchronicity is what you're seeing is you're just picking up on what was supposed to happen anyway. You know what I mean? So you're just cluing in. It's like deja vu, you're like, oh, I feel like I've been here before. Well, because you
Hmm.
have. You
Mm,
have. This time doesn't just run one direction.
mm,
Right? It's now, right? There
mhm.
is no past and there is no future. There's only now. And if you live in the now, everything can exist at the same time. It's just law unfolding. You just happen to see in that synchronicity one of those dominoes. And in that space where that domino fell, where you felt the synchronicity, is it telling you something? So you need to pay attention. It's you telling you something. Pay
mm.
attention to the synchronicity, not just about it, but what's around it at the time.
Yeah, yeah. Sometimes I feel like there's something I'm trying to remember, and it's on the tip of my tongue, and it's
That's
something
it.
that's important, and I can't remember what it is. Do you ever experience that?
Yeah. And when those synchronicities come like that and you're not picking up on it, they'll increase and they'll become more obvious, like slapping you. They'll get to the point where they'll basically slap you. And if you can't figure out the slap, well, you'll just keep going getting slapped and never figure it out.
I've
It's
been
just
getting slapped
change.
for a few years now, man. I'm just
Yeah,
waiting,
right?
just yeah, for the revelation.
Yeah. Yeah,
Mm.
you need to meditate, my friend. Meditate. Get
Yeah,
into the
I don't
silence.
actually meditate, but maybe I'll start.
Hmm. Try a
I,
guided one.
I
I'll
don't know
try
why
one of
we don't
yours.
do it. I don't know why more people don't do it. And like we were saying, myself and I, we don't do it. Like, and I don't know. It's not that there's no fear though. I love to do it, but it's just getting down and doing it.
Yeah,
You know?
it is difficult because I do think somewhere underneath it all, you think it's not going to work. And that's why you don't do it. Because I mean, there's really no other reason, right? If you really think about it, the only reason you don't do it is because you don't think it will work deep down. And that's true.
Yeah. But manifestation,
And,
like even the way like if you hear thing manifestation, if you keep on saying if you identify or something as an idea, then you are that idea,
mhm.
and then you could even I suppose change reality to whatever you like.
If there's
What
one
do you
If I
thing
think?
I
kind
can,
of,
there's one
if
thing
you
I can teach
believe,
you.
sorry.
One thing I can teach you is learn to change your perspective. Until you can
Yeah.
change your perspective, you'll see things only one way. It's like it's like I hate doing something, you know, and I've never done it before. And so why don't I try it and see if I actually hate it? And what I do is I try something for 30 days. And if I don't like it after 30 days, well, guess what? I guess I don't fucking like it.
Yeah.
And then I'll pick something up. But you got to give it the time, right? You got to give it 30 days. If you don't give it 30 days, then you can't make an actual estimation of whether you like it or not. You got to give it some time. So my question to you or my challenge to you would be to try it for 30 days meditation, whether guided or not, whatever way you want to do it. And if you don't like it after 30 days, throw it away. And that's how you
Yeah.
find out if you really like something or not. Because I've hated things before and I tried it and now I love it. It's bizarre.
The 30-day rule, yeah, it's a good one. You'd see it a lot in a lot of self-help books even. Um, Jason, I want to leave you with this kind of question.
Hmm.
Our last topic we could talk about. The Greys. Are they future us?
They're either the future us or the past. And I can explain why they're in the past and why they look that way. Because we've only been here for what? We have recorded history for 6,000 years of what we've built and what we've done on some form of written record. And we can go back maybe another 4,000 years to 10,000, 15,000 years where we got like handprints on walls and shit, and that's it. And before that, there was the Younger Dryas event or whatever happened during that time. Now, before that, we could have had civilizations advancing for thousands of years on Earth. And because of some of these events that have happened, crustal displacement, changing of the poles, they're erased forever. You will never find them in the fossil record. I mean, ever find them. It means they're erased forever. So if they're from the past, they could have been people that survived. And somehow they're arriving here in the future. Mind you, they look futuristic, even though they're from the past. And the other option is they are from the future, and that's why they look that way, right? Because they're us evolved. We're living in space, big eyes, lack of light, skinny, you know, we're all connected to AI and shit, you know, and then we
Small
would lose our
nose.
muscle tone. Yeah. But
Yeah.
honestly, I don't know, man. I really don't know. I don't know. They could be from Zeta Reticuli, you know? They really could, because I mean, if we look at what Eric Davis says, he says there's what, 5 or 4 different humanoid species that we've
Yeah.
looked at, and they're humanoid. So that tells me either he's lying or the universe produces humanoids at some point. You know what I mean? And I'm going to go with
Mhm.
option 2, that the universe produces humanoids. How it does that, I have no idea. But if that evidence is true, that is what it would state.
Yeah. Have you had any experiences with Greys?
Never.
Yeah.
I've never had an experience with a being that is physical. And I
Yeah.
can tell you a bunch of reasons why I think that. I have experiences with beings with no body all the time. I can feel their presence. I can feel their touch sometimes, but I think they know I'm scared if I saw them.
Mm.
If I really saw them. If I really just turned around the corner in my hallway and there was a gray standing right there, and even if I'd been talking to that being in my mind, I would freak the F out. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I might
Mhm.
freeze. I might have a heart attack. I might shoot it. I don't know. I don't know what I would do, but I know I'd be
Mm.
scared because even though I know they're real, it's like actually seeing them and them being real. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like my mom, like I think Tom DeLonge even talked about this. Well, my mom's the same as his mom.
Yeah.
It's like if my mom actually met Jesus, she would probably flip out. All she wants to do is meet Jesus, but when she actually meets him, she'd lose her shit.
Yeah. And what do you think it is when people like that are unsuspecting, like people that have no interest in UFOs or aliens, and then they meet these humanoid
Let me just say one more thing
aliens?
about that. I want to say one more thing. Like in the Bhagavad Gita, um, Krishna and Arjuna. Arjuna is the charioteer. I don't know if you guys know the story, but the story in the Bhagavad Gita is that Krishna is an avatar of God, and he stands on the battlefield with Arjuna, who's the good guy. And he basically is teaching him that he needs to kill his family for the good. And his family is on the other side of the battlefield, and they're a split family, right? Like they're angry at each other. And during this whole thing, Arjuna says, Krishna, will you show me what you really look like? Can I see? And Krishna goes, I don't think you're going to want to see it, Arjuna. And Arjuna goes, no, come on, man. Like, let me seriously see this. He goes, I don't think so. He goes, look, I want to see it. He goes, okay. And he turned into his true form. And Arjuna said, turn back now. Turn back. Turn back. I don't want to see it. So I think that's part of it, right? I think part of it is
Yeah.
the ontological shock of actually seeing the thing. I mean, think about if a UFO landed in your town and a bunch of grays got out, people would lose their shit.
Yeah.
They don't even have to talk. They could just walk around and open a mailbox or something on the corner. People would lose their shit. Someone would try to kill
Absolutely.
it. People would be running. Houses would be burning down. It would be mayhem.
I'd love to fucking see him anyway. I'd
Yeah.
cook him up a cup of tea or a cup of coffee or whatever they're
I
We
into.
would
say
love
that,
to.
and we say that sometimes, but man, I think if we really did see, we'd be frozen with fear.
Yeah. I mean, if one of these
Yeah.
dudes knocked on my door and rang the doorbell and I walked up to the door and there's this 8-foot reptilian dude, you know what I mean? Like, I'm going to shit my pants.
Mhm.
This isn't a Marvel movie. It's going to become real life.
Mhm.
And I
Yeah.
think that's
Mm.
part of their issue. Part of their issue is that we're not ready to see it, and I think that's why you don't see them a lot.
Yeah. I'm definitely going to have to try them CE5 meditations or even some of your own meditation videos that you have up on your YouTube.
Yeah.
Where else could people get everything, everything that you have to offer?
You can go to my YouTube channel. I just have tons and tons of hypnosis, guided meditations. I have a few Dharma talks, like teachings and stuff on there. But otherwise, just Twitter is basically where I
Mm.
pour my writing heart out. And that's my teachings. That's how I'm teaching. So I'm
Yeah.
putting that
Jason, like
message.
we really could talk to you for a long time. You definitely have to come back. Hopefully, maybe
Yeah,
sometime
will.
next year. We'd love to have you back. We say that to everybody, but man, I feel like we could talk to you for a long time, and
No
there's
worries.
so many subjects, man. I wish
Yeah.
we were in person. I could buy you a few pints, and
Right?
I'll drink the
Yeah.
pints, and
You drink the pints. Yeah, I could go on and on even about the experiences in prison. I would blow your guys'
Mm,
minds, absolutely blow them with prison stories if you're into
Mm.
prison stories
yeah,
that are
we'd love
Yeah.
that, man.
nuts. And of course, I love
Yeah,
this topic. I'm always good to talk on this topic.
right. Well, we'll definitely we'll be in touch with you before too long. I think, John, will we?
Definitely. She's already talking an hour and a half, and it feels like we're talking 5 minutes.
I know,
Yeah,
totally.
yeah, yeah.
Well,
Um,
it's been good, lads.
it's a pleasure.
Was
Thanks
that
a
was
million
that an
for
Irish accent you just attempted there, brother?
that wasn't
No,
bad.
that
wasn't
was
bad.
just a Canadian lads. Yeah. We usually say
Okay.
boys here, you know? Have a good one,
Okay.
boys. It's an Eastern accent for Canada. You know, when you hear me talk like this is more of my you know, my regular talk, but you get me excited, the Eastern accent comes out.
Yeah. Love it. Yeah, we'll put all your links there in the description as well. Thanks for everything you do.
Yeah, no
I think
problem, boys. Thanks for promoting
anyone
it.
that's listening, anyone that
Thanks for
listens,
promoting, but I don't need to be promoted.
no, even anyone that listens, like when they start looking at your work, like someone that hasn't seen it before, and it's even your Twitter, as you said, like, and it's mind blowing that more people aren't doing this because it is important stuff that'll just benefit everybody's life. You
A
know,
lot of this stuff comes from those beings. Like the stuff that I'm posting, some of that stuff comes from them. It's not even me. You know, they just give it to me. And I'll just go, holy shit, that's fucking cool. You know, and then type it out.
yeah. Jason, thanks a million, and we'll be in contact. Anyway,
Sounds
surely
good.
down the line, and we'll get you on again if you're up for it.
Will do, brother.
Thanks a million, Jason. Take
Thanks
care
a
of
lot,
yourself.
Jason.
Take care, guys.
All the best, bud.